Today we're going to service the lower suspension linkage on a Triumph Speed Triple. This is a 2014 model. As far as I'm aware, the linkage has never been off in the past. I recently done one on a 2016 model and I believe it's exactly the same. The first thing you'll need to do is get your bike jacked up. You might do it in a different fashion than I have. First of all, I put the bike up on the rear paddock stand, then the front paddock stand. Then I used a standard car trolley jack underneath the engine to lift the bike a little higher so I could then put the car jacks under each foot peg. I've also used straps to strap the bike to the ceiling just for extra safety. We'll be removing this bolt, and this bolt. This one can stay there for a second. This is a blown up diagram of the bolts we're going to be removing. The tools for doing this job are quite basic. You're going to need a hex bit. This is a H8. You're going to also need a Torx bit. This is a T55. You're going to need a straightforward 14mm spanner and or a 14mm socket wrench. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take the nuts off the back. Once you've got them loosened off, you're going to have to go around the other side and then use the Torx bit. So we're going to try and hold this nut on the back. This one's been a little bit tricky because the stand is getting in the way. I've only got long bits. Okay, that's all the bolts off, or nuts off should I say. Okay, we're just going to now pull out all the bolts. If you don't support the back wheel, this will probably just drop suddenly when you take them out. Let's give it a try. Okay, 1, 2. Notice the difference in length of the bolts. This one's longer because it's got to go through the frame. Obviously this one's shorter. Okay, get the last one out. Yeah, simple. We should be able to just pull this away. Just going to put something in there because I don't want to jam my fingers, just in case something does happen. That's one linkage off. So what we're going to do next, we're going to take it to the bench. We're going to completely strip it down. This bearing will also need greasing, as you can see there. There we go. Just pushing that out reveals the bearing. First inspections, considering this has never been off, that looks quite good. A little bit of debris in there. That looks pretty good. So we've got the lower suspension linkage laid out on the bench. I'm just going to take this little piece apart and then we can get to cleaning it up. This piece I think is known as a dog bone. I don't think it really matters which way around it goes back, but we'll try and reassemble it the same way. There we go. So even though it looks a little bit cruddy, it's generally not in bad condition. I'm hoping that you can see inside there. And that looks pretty clean. As does that side. It looks a little bit strange. I noticed this on the last one I took apart on a 2016 model. I thought there was something wrong to start with, but it seems that the bearings are sitting in some sort of waxy substance. They don't particularly turn that well, but then it's only a pivot point. I don't think it really matters. So what we're going to do now is just clean this up and then re-grease it. To clean it up, we're going to use some paraffin. Very good for cleaning grease off. I'm sure somebody will tell me if I'm using the wrong thing. It's good for the bearings as well, get some inside. See a little bit of rub in there. Looks okay though. As you can see, most of the grease is coming off quite easily. It's only surface dirt. So as you can imagine, underneath the bike, it does take a lot of abuse with dirt, water, road salt, etc. But that seems in pretty good condition. Give this a little rub down with a nylon brush. In pretty good shape. Just in case you forget how to assemble it, it does say top on the hangers. If you want to have a closer inspection, you can take these rubbers out. The easiest thing to do is put a screwdriver underneath, just apply a little bit of pressure, they just pop out very simply. That looks very clean inside. Now I wasn't going to take the other seals off, I just took that one off and there's a little bit of crud inside there. Not much, so we'll take them all off. That one's okay. And that one's okay. Incidentally, should you need a new bearing from Triumph, I have checked and I'm pretty certain they're £35 each. Astronomical prices. I did look on a bearing company's website, I think it was called simplybearings.co.uk, I'm not exactly sure the price, I'm not exactly sure the size of the bearing, but they're coming out at a fraction of the price. So worth a look on there should you need one. So now we're using a clean rag. I'm just going to have a little wipe inside. This rag does look dirty, but it has been through the wash. Just a little bit of paraffin. There's not really that much to clean, just getting any sort of little pieces of debris off. It does looking quite good, Nick. Should you need to replace the bearing, that's quite simple as well. You can just use a socket, pop it in there, get a larger socket, so bigger than the circumference of the bearing or bearing hole, pop that into a vise, tighten it up, and that bearing will just, socket will just push the bearing out. So we're now going to re-grease the bearing with standard multi-purpose grease, EP2, straightforward stuff. Just get some on, smear it all in there. I have noticed on some Triumph websites or forums, people complaining of how dry the bearing is. I don't think it's so much that it's dry, it's just they use this kind of waxy substance that isn't traditionally what we'd expect it to be. Let's get plenty of grease in there. I don't think you can go too much with the grease. When we put the sleeve back in, it'll just push it back out. So just press some in if you can. Now we're going to put our plastic seals back in. You can put a little bit of grease on the back of those if you like, I suppose. Just push nicely in. Using a little bit of wet and dry, I'm just going to rub some of the slight rust spots off this pin. You don't need to go mad, just a little bit of roughness, nothing much. That's pretty much all it needs. And we're going to put it back in. As you can see there, just squashes out that little excess of grease. reassembly. So that's just lightly back together. I'll torque it up when it's on the bike, it'll probably be easier. We're just going to go down and clean the bearing that's on the bike. So this is the bearing we're looking to clean. Whilst we're under here, we might as well clean other areas that you can't normally get to. Just try and get some grease inside. I almost forgot about that one. Again, that one looks in pretty good condition. Just get a little bit of grease in there. Now to get it all back together. That's just loosely assembled. I'm going to take the bike down off the axle stands. It'll give me better access then to tighten these bolts up because I can't quite get at that one. We're now going to torque all these bolts up. The torque setting for this bike is 48 Newton meters for all the bolts. Remember, I'm not a motorbike mechanic. Get your own information, double check that your settings are the same. Don't rely on me, and be careful whose advice you take online, on forums, etc. Some people may get it wrong, so double check. There we go, that's it. Quite straightforward, not a difficult job. Tools are very simple, easy to come by, quite cheap. If you like that, please press like. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. I may be doing other jobs soon. I'd like to grease the bearings on the back wheel and probably do the headstock bearing. In the meantime, take care.